Welcome to the Explainer. Look, today I'm basically going to be your virtual colleague, and I'm showing you a massive time saver for your daily grind. We're diving into Postman flows, specifically tailored for all you IT support engineers out there. And honestly, the best part, every single thing we're about to build can be done right now using the Postman desktop app and a totally free account. Let's get into it.
We've all felt the pain of manual testing. You absolutely know the drill. Sending a request, carefully copying an ID from the response, pasting it into the next request, and just crossing your fingers you didn't accidentally highlight a stray quotation mark, right? It's tedious, it's super error-prone, and it relies on these really brittle, hard-coded scripts. So I've got to ask a question that might literally change your morning routine forever. What if you could automate those complex multi-step API tests purely visually without writing a single line of traditional code?
So check this out. Instead of the old way, the manual clicking and tedious copying of IDs, visual automation in Postman flows lets you literally just connect blocks on a canvas. It's like a giant puzzle. You watch the data pass instantly from one block to the next. Instead of writing scripts to parse JSON, you're just snapping these visual blocks together. It totally turns an abstract codebase into this tangible blueprint that really anyone on your support team can just look at and understand right away.
Okay, quick look at the agenda for this explainer. First, connecting sequential API requests. Second, branching logic with conditions. Third, validating items with loops. And finally, a real support scenario automation.
All right, Section 1, Connecting Sequential API Requests. Let's dive in.
Okay, let's open up our visual canvas. Step 1, we drop in a start block. Easy. Step 2, we add a send request block, and we're going to point it to the Postman Echo API. It's this great built-in tool that basically just echoes back whatever data you send it. Then, step 3, we drop in a second send request block. Now, to link them together, you literally just draw a line from the success port of that first block straight to the input of the second. Boom! That's it. You've just orchestrated a sequence. That second request is only going to fire off if the first one actually succeeds.
Now here's where the real power is, that send request block. You don't have to rebuild your API calls from scratch. No way! It directly leverages the Postman collections you already have saved sitting right there in your workspace. It executes the request, grabs the incoming response data, and just holds it, ready to be passed right down the line. It's honestly the ultimate tool for reusing the exact work your engineering team has already done.
Moving right along to Section 2, Branching Logic with Conditions.
So in the real world, APIs don't just happen in a perfectly straight line, right? Before we can branch out, we need to isolate the actual data we care about. And we do this using what's called a select block. When your send request block gets this massive JSON response back, you definitely don't want to pass that whole giant thing down the chain. The select block lets you visually drill down into that response body, pluck out exactly what you need, like say a specific user ID or a status code, and just neatly assign it to a variable.
All right, once we have our extracted variable, we feed it into a condition block. Think of the condition block like a really smart traffic cop. It evaluates your variables using either some simple TypeScript or Postman's own flows query language. If the condition is met, cool, it routes the data right through a pass port. If not, it gets routed through a fail port. It even has this built-in default path, which is amazing because it means your workflow won't crash if it hits weird, unexpected data. It just gracefully routes it right over to an error handling block.
Next up, Section 3, Validating Items with Loops.
Okay, but what happens when your API returns this massive array of items instead of just one single thing? Imagine your API spits out a list with an item ID, an item name, and a status for every single row. Instead of doing tedious manual spot checks or, trying to write some complex script to iterate through the whole array, Postman Flows just handles this visually. We can basically loop over this entire response array to validate the status of every single individual item without even breaking the sweat.
We tackle this with a really simple 3-step loop pattern. First off, we pass the entire list into a for block. That block takes the list, breaks it down, and spits out just one item at a time. Second, we route each of those individual items right through our trusty condition block to check its status. And finally, and actually this is incredibly important, we use a collect block. That collect block catches all those individual results and syncs them back up. It literally forces the flow to wait until every single item has been fully evaluated before it lets anything move on to the next major step in your workflow.
All right, bringing it all together. Section 4, Real Support Scenario Automation.
Okay, it is time for the boss battle. We're applying everything we just talked about to a real-world morning health check. We need to verify 5 critical API endpoints: authentication, users, database, search, and billing. We are going to build a flow that automatically hits all 5 of these endpoints sequentially, checks their status, and logs any failures, completely hands-free.
So to do this, we just line up 5 send request blocks right in a row. After each request, we drop in a select block to pull out the HTTP status code. Then we configure our condition blocks to validate that every single endpoint returns that beautiful, incredibly comforting target, a perfect HTTP 200 OK status. If it's a 200, awesome, the flow proceeds right to the next API. But if it's literally anything else, that condition block routes it down a fail path straight to a log block on our canvas.
And the second you hit that Run button, the magic happens. You literally watch the data flowing between the nodes right on the screen. The results pop up immediately. 4 of our critical endpoints passed with flying colors, but importantly, 1 of them failed. And because of that conditional routing we set up, the flow instantly caught it and logged the exact point of failure.
So instead of digging through browser network tabs and manually firing off individual requests all morning, your canvas just hands you a clean, simple log. Health check complete. 4 passed, 1 failed due to a billing API timeout. By visually automating this multi-step test, you literally just saved yourself 30 minutes of super tedious manual clicking today, and honestly, every single day going forward. You've officially transformed from a manual tester into an automation architect. So I'll leave you with this one question to think about. What repetitive workflow are you going to automate first?